Well, at least the bands were cool.
That they were, Noah, that they were. Noah is, of course, referring to Ohio State versus Grambling State. Quite the lopsided affair. But before we get to that, we have a couple live shows coming up that we want to mention. We'll be at Slim and Jumbo's this Sunday for the Browns games, Browns Ravens. They're doing the dog walk. It's in Garrettsville, Ohio. It's a great time. It's supporting the Garrettsville High School soccer team. So come out for that. We'll be live around 11. And then the following week, we'll be back in Muni Lot. We had a lot of fun this past Sunday. So we're doing it again, this time at the Kennel. It's that nice big bus with the face mask on the front of it right at the entrance of Muni Lot. Look for our flag. You can't miss us. We're also having a little giveaway, Noah.
We are having a giveaway. All you have to do is subscribe and leave a comment here on the page at the office here on YouTube, and you'll be entered to win a Browns jersey of the player of your choice, your size, your favorite player, shipped straight to your door, courtesy of yours truly being me and Eric, not just myself. I'm not footing the bill by myself. Sorry, E. But go ahead, subscribe, comment to be entered to win a totally free Cleveland Browns jersey.
All right, I want to talk Ohio State, Grambling State. I don't think we need to be super detailed on our breakdown here because we won
No.
70 to nothing. 651 total yards, 377 through the air, 274 on the ground. Obviously, this was to be expected, right? We pay a lot of money to these teams to come to Columbus and get beat, basically. Um, Fortunately, we haven't had a situation where we've been upset. Like, I'll take no opportunity to miss pointing out that Appalachian State beat Michigan several years
Yeah.
ago. Has not happened to Ohio State, but there are a few things to touch on here. We'll start wherever you want to start, but uh, Julian Sayin
Yes, that's
and
where
Bo
I wanna start
Jackson,
too.
those are the
Yeah,
two names that I want to talk about. But all right, let's
those
start with Sayin.
yeah, let's start with Sam. Those are also both the names I would like to talk about as well. Sand was amazing in this game. He is continuing to come as advertised. Aside from one bad read interception that happened in the red zone, unfortunately, he started off this game, what, 16 for 16, set a school record by doing that.
Record, yeah.
He was at 200 yards and 3 touchdowns before the first quarter was even over. It was a great showing by him. It was a great showing by this entire Buckeyes offense. What did you think of saying?
Unbelievable. The stat that he did not have a single pass touch the ground. He went
Yeah,
18 for 19, and that miss was the interception that you talked about. 306 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was efficient, he was precise. I mean, he just dominated all aspects of the passing game. And this is what we talked about wanting to see, right? Ryan Day talked about having a really pared down game plan for Sayin in week 1 against Texas, letting our defense win that game. And that's exactly what they did. Sayin was careful with the ball in week 1, but he didn't have to do a lot. He wasn't throwing down the field. It wasn't him versus Manning in a shootout that some people
yeah,
expected. And that was the right game plan. Going into
100%.
week 2 against a team that, listen, we were always going to beat Grambling State. I know people were talking about, all right, they're not taking it serious doing these TikToks. Why should I? Uh, Well, they knew they were getting beat too. It would have taken quite the miracle to pull off the upset. So it was time to open up the playbook and see what you have in Sayin. And what you have is a guy that throws darts. He has a
Yeah,
quick release. It looks a little weird from traditional quarterback throwing. That's kind of the new style, I guess, because Arch Manning's the same way. Quick release, though, hitting guys in stride, making touch throws, which I thought was key here. Yes, he had the one bad read. Obviously, he should have floated that a bit more over the shoulder and put it where only his guy could go up and get it.
yeah.
But as a redshirt freshman quarterback, he looks better than Drew Aller so far this season. He looks better than the true freshman Bryce Underwood, so I'm pretty happy where he's at.
Yeah, he was, stellar, and then they pulled him, as they should, because of how bad the blowout was, and they had some fun with some of the backups. I know we'll talk about Jackson here in a second. Staying through and through, though, I mean, it was fun at least to see them score basically at will. Some of the touchdowns that were wide open were insane to me. Like, why are we letting Jeremiah Smith be this open in the end zone? But then again, we're talking about an FCS school that is basically paying for all of their scholarships by taking a trip to Columbus. What
Exactly.
else? Let's talk a little bit about the rookie, the freshman running back that me and you both love, of course, from the
True
Cleveland
freshman.
area. True freshman indeed. What did you think about him? He had a good game.
Yeah, he did. He had 108 yards on just 9 carries, which was the most for any running back, for Ohio State that day. He also had his first touchdown in scarlet and gray, which is pretty cool. He was averaging almost 12 yards a rush. What I see here is that I think he's gonna work his way into a lot more reps. I know it sounds crazy because he's a true freshman, but he looked to be the best back of the day, honestly. Peoples was 8 carries, 59 yards, and CJ Donaldson Jr., 5 carries for 45 yards. I'm not saying they looked bad because they looked fine. And obviously, this is Grambling State, but Bo Jackson looked like another Jackson that I know.
Bo is fun. I love how all of Ohio State fandom has kind of rallied around loving this kid already and being excited for what's to come in his career as a true freshman and moving forward for the Ohio State Buckeyes.
By the way, real
I
quick, you know his real name's Lamar, right?
Yes, I do.
So he's
His real
actually
name is
named Lamar
Lamar Jackson.
Jackson. Yeah.
Yes, I did know that. Overall, man, this game, we could beat a dead horse. Of course, we only really got to see good things. The only bad thing I can think about is literally the interception that Sayin threw. What else do you expect? It was a Big Ten Network game. It was a 3:30 p.m. FCS versus FBS school. Uh, It happens. This is unfortunately for me, this is my least favorite part about college football when we have these weeks of just bad games. Like last week was so exciting. Ohio State, Texas, LSU. We had plenty of big name games going on. Of course, Florida State upsetting who did they
Alabama.
upset last week? Alabama, that's right.
Yeah.
And then we go on to this week and we're talking about like Wright State versus
Yeah.
Alabama and
To be
Tennessee
fair,
or
though, Clemson was damn near upset this week playing a cupcake, so it could
that's true
happen.
too. It could happen. The best one, in my opinion, was Florida losing this week as well.
Yeah, college football is volatile, we know. Um, Clemson may not be the tough team that I thought they were. Obviously, they have a lot of returnees. They use the portal, Cade Klubnik being their quarterback. But anyway, back to Ohio State real quick. Yeah, I get what you're saying. These weeks, listen, this is effectively the preseason for Ohio State football because things like timing and just getting live action with running backs, it's important as they build up towards that game in October against Penn State, for example, or that game in November against Michigan. Um, Speaking of Michigan, they lost.
They did lose. It was a
Oklahoma.
awesome little night game too. That was one of the bright spot matchups of the week. I will give some credit there. Obviously, very happy the Wolverines lost. They can lose every game this season for all I care. What
Agreed.
was your reaction to that game and that loss overall?
So my first reaction always is F Michigan. I agree with you. The team up north can lose every single game, and I'll be happy. My second reaction is the fact that Sherrod Moore, who's supposed to be this great coach that Michigan likes to laud, he has the same number of losses as Ryan Day in his career, except Ryan Day has been coaching for 7 years instead of two. So that I find interesting. Also, just rough sports weekend in general for Detroit fans. I do feel for them a little bit because if they are a Michigan fan, they lost, the Tigers lost, and of course the Lions lost. So not a great weekend for Detroit sports fans. But yeah, I kind of expected more out of Michigan, to be honest with you. Bryce
Me too.
Underwood's a true freshman, so I don't expect a ton from him. But he was so hyped to start the season, and he doesn't look that great.
Yeah, he's going to be interesting for them moving forward. We'll see how his career plays out. I'm not going to discredit him just because he's from Michigan or goes to Michigan rather.
Yeah.
I I'm ready to move past these cupcake games. I know later this week we're going to talk Ohio State, and
Yeah.
my biggest talking point is, of course, going to be the Bobcat jumping Brutus all those years ago. If you've ever seen that
Yeah.
video is hilarious. Go check it out. But I hate when my college football Saturdays just feel a little boring because we know what's happening with a lot of these matchups. I want to get to that Michigan game. I want to get to Penn State. I know obviously James Franklin is a fraud, is a running gag or whatever you want to
No,
say on
that's
this
the
show.
truth.
You know what I mean? It's a running statement, I guess, is the
Yeah.
best way to put it. But at least those games, there's entertainment, there's risk, there's reward. Grambling State, Ohio State does nothing for me aside from, can we hit 100 points? Does the score bug even let it put 100 up there? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't disagree. Listen, here's the thing. We had so many questions coming into this season just because we lost 22 starters. And the answers so far have been pretty resounding. They looked decent against Texas. Either Texas is worse than we thought, or Ohio State's better than we thought. Uh, the defense in particular, though, I don't think people expected such a shutout defense so far, and they look incredible. And then, although Arch Manning did have quite a bit of time, I think his shoulder injury is worse than he's letting on, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, but then you have this game, it's just reaffirming that Ohio State football is the level, as I like to argue with Noah all the time, because this is what's to be expected, as you said. And though our opinions differ slightly there, you don't like that we talk about it that way, that we put Ohio State on a pedestal. They are on a pedestal for a reason. And granted, Grambling State isn't the shining example, nor will OU be next week. But week one really was. This team, there's a reason Vegas currently has them odds on favorite to repeat as national champions. That's getting a little beyond what I'm comfortable saying at the moment. Let's see how they face the rest of the Big Ten, in particular
Yeah.
Penn State, get that Michigan monkey off their shoulder. And then the playoffs, it's just I mean, anything can happen, just like NFL playoffs, but they look to be the team to beat right now.
All in through and through. I mean, they're ranked number one for a reason. I would have argued before the season, like we did, that there was reason to believe that they shouldn't be or won't be. But as of right now, they are the team to beat. And let's get to that point where we can prove it again. That's all I'm saying. I love the Buckeyes. I love football in general. The cupcake weeks are the worst weeks of football, in my opinion,
Yeah.
because while some players who aren't going to get to play a whole bunch get to play, we get to see things like Bo Jackson on the field. I want some competitive games at the end of the day.
I think we're gonna see much more of him. Real quick, the top 10, and then I want you to give me your take on who's the team to watch. Top 10 AP right now is Ohio State, Penn State, LSU, Oregon, Miami of Florida, of course, Georgia, Texas, Notre Dame, Illinois, who's a sleeper in the Big Ten, and Florida State. Of those 10, so last week, or 2 weeks ago rather, mine was Clemson as the team to look out for. They dropped to 12, of course. But of those top 10, who's your second team behind Ohio State to really look out for?
Yeah, I still favor Penn State right now just because of the recruiting and the money that they've put out there. Obviously, we haven't seen them win a big one yet, in terms of any game, really. James Franklin, that's the biggest monkey on his back.
Mhm.
But Drew Aller is perceived to be one of the guys and is going to be one of the guys in the draft this year, top rated prospect. So, aside from the Buckeyes, I still have my eyes on Penn State and seeing if they can really turn that corner and become better than what they have been in years past. What about you?
So for my money right now, I think I'm taking LSU.
That's a good one
Uh,
too.
First of all, they look good against Clemson. They don't look to be world beaters or anything like that. Honorable mention Miami, by the way, taking down Notre Dame. They look decent as well. But
Yeah.
LSU just they look fast for no better way of putting it. I know that's the so-called eye test that I'm giving right now, but they just look like a really fast football team. They're flying to the ball. Next week, by the way, or this week rather, they play Florida, if I'm not mistaken. So that's an interesting matchup that's coming up on Saturday. That's the featured game at night. Florida obviously unranked now, but could be
Yeah.
an interesting game. But yeah, for me, I think it's LSU at the moment.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think both teams that we mentioned, Penn State and LSU, are at the top of their game to an extent compared in unison with the Buckeyes, but Buckeyes are still number one right now, and you got to beat the best to be the best. I'm gonna leave it at that.
By the way, big game for Penn State, not this weekend, but the following weekend. They have Oregon on September 27th. Right now, that would be a 2 versus 4 matchup. That could be really interesting and give a good idea of where Penn State's at with their team.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be fun to see how this season continues to play out. Again, let's get past these cupcake weeks and get into some more conference play and whatnot and rock and roll. Go Bucks.
Well, to be fair, and I want to break down the schedule a little more next when we preview the OU game, since we're not going to have a lot to talk about anyway.
Yeah.
But Ohio State has OU, but then they're at Washington,
Hmm.
uh, then Minnesota, and then Illinois, which the way they're looking so far is kind of a
Yeah, they're a
catch
good team
game.
this year. Yeah.
So they have an interesting schedule, followed by then Wisconsin, Penn State. I mean, it lights up for Ohio State after this week.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I'm saying. Let's get past Ohio. We'll have the break week after that. And then we'll play Washington and let it start rolling from there.
Sounds good to me. Anything else you're thinking before we get out of here?
I'm ready to rock and roll, move forward with my day. Go Bucks, OH, baby.
It's nice that we have a team to root for that doesn't consistently let us down. As Browns fans, at least we have the Buckeyes.
100%, man.
All right. Well, the debate never ends, but the show does for now. We'll see you next time.